Alexandra currently in 7th place. 8 finalists competing today on the apparatus, and as Peter Dowdle just mentioned, uneven bars the first up.
Alexandra about to begin the exercise. Performing her release somersault, very well done. The girls must perform 10 elements on this apparatus and use both the high and low bar, distributing the elements well. Here she's performing giant swings and now moving on to the low bar. They must in fact perform at least 2 elements on the low bar. She'll now perform some long swings and prepare for her dismount. Giant swing into the common hedge dismount, made famous by Mario Konica. A good, solid performance. Her coach is obviously well pleased, and we'll look for the result shortly.
Here we can see that this young lady has excellent technique, good body positions in the kipping movements to the bars, excellent control, nice tight body. And here, preparing for the dismount, you can see she rises her hips above the bar in order to rotate and land in a very steady position. A good finish by Andrea Boric of Toronto, Canada.
To 19.10, and he could improve the position.
He certainly could, Bruce, and we'll look forward to that. A very deserving performance by our national champion.
Now to Rhythmic, and Kaori Ishimi from Japan, currently in 7th position on the floor, 9.20, and the apparatus here, of course, is the hoop.
The hoop is a very difficult apparatus to perform with. You see many children in the streets, of course, playing with hoops, and here today you'll see some quite unusual and different ways of using this hoop apparatus. Who came into this competition equal 6 with a score of 9.2. Very important in rhythmic gymnastics to show good flexibility.
In Sydney, Ishimi of Japan scored 9.25 on the hoop to give her 18.45. Irene Giumini's next up from Italy, and she carries a score of 9.20 with her.
Irene is currently placed equal 6 and is the junior Italian champion.
Francis, the Italians are very competent at rhythmic gymnastics.
Yes, they are. I think they've had quite a few of the Eastern Bloc coaches who are so strong in the rhythmic area. Nice demonstration of flexibility. throw the apparatus into the air. Of course, the skills they do underneath are fairly complex. Such a young competitor. She's just 14. Fine performance from the junior Italian champion, Irene Gymnastics.
And Irene will be looking for a score around about 9.4, which would put her above Ishimi of Japan, because they are currently equal in 6th place. So we go from one tiny Italian in a moment to another. How long are they performing in Rhythmic for advances each performance?
Each routine has to be between 1 minute and 1 minute 30. That's up to the gymnast. That's the duration of the routine within those time confines.
So to the uneven bars, and as I said, another Italian, Roberta Kirschmeyer, currently 6th with 9.35.
And Roberta choosing to mount over the low bar, straight into the high bar for her giant circle. Performing her release, the difficult Kachev hecht over the high bar. Back on the low bar. As I mentioned earlier, the gymnast must use both bars and demonstrate swinging movements predominantly during the routine. Preparing now for a dismount. Oh, a very difficult full turn and handstand into a double back stump. Oh, very solid on the landing. Great routine by the young Italian. She should be well pleased with that.
Yes, she's a tiny little girl and obviously uses her smallness of stature as an advantage on the bars.
Here we see Roberta preparing for her last sequence. The double salto. Knees slightly apart, probably a minor deduction there, but an excellent landing, and the judges obviously see that held position.
In the hoop. Now to the hoops, and another Italian, Michaela Imperatori. Michaela has 9.35 and is in 5th place. So the Italian's predominant in the hoop at this stage in the Rhythmic.
Yes, that's very interesting, Bruce. Michaela is 16 years of age and is the senior Italian champion. So the Italians have sent their very best competitors to compete in this bicentennial Konica Cup.
Returning to her, and she's showing complete assurance in her handling of the apparatus, a sign of a very good performer indeed.
That's a difficult combination. 2 rolls to a very controlled catch. A fine performance by the young Italian girl, 16-year-old Michaela Imperatori, senior Italian champion. Here you see a good example of the flexibility in those beautiful grand jetés.
She looks completely at home, Francis, with the hoop.
Doesn't she? She's very comfortable.
The uneven bars, Tricia Forston of the United States, 17-year-old from Texas, Houston. Tricia currently in 5th position with 9.35.
Tricia choosing to mount over the low bar, like many of the gymnasts, straight onto the horizontal bar into her giant circles and immediately into her release recatch element. The girl's required to show at least one, but there is a second one moving from the low bar to the high bar. Oh, giant circle, and we have a third release. That's most unusual. If the girls can demonstrate 3 releases and recatches, this certainly elevates them to the highest level of competition. On the high bar now, circling for dismount and double back somersault, knees apart, but good landing. Tricia Forston from Houston, and she is coached by the famous Bella Caroli.
And we'll be back with Tricia's score after this break. You're watching 10 Sports Action's live coverage of the Bicentennial Gymnastics Cup. And welcome back as we're seeing a replay of Tricia Forston on the uneven bars from the United States.
This was a very strong performance by the young lady. In fact, stronger than she demonstrated in the individual all-round competition, and should place her well in the finals. She's a very thin-looking girl, but obviously can demonstrate and show a great deal of strength. Preparing for the dismount now. Watch for the landing. Legs apart, 1 step on landing, a minor deduction, perhaps 0.1 of a point.
And Tricia scored 9.45. So she maintains her position at 5th with 18.80 points. And now Kelly Larter from Australia, who'll be next up in the uneven bars. Kelly will be leading in the beam competition later today.
This is a routine to watch, Bruce, as she's placed 4th on bars, and this is one of her strong events. She's certainly a beautiful mover on all events, but particularly so on the uneven bars. Mounting over the low bar, straight onto the high bar, and she'll prepare for her major release now. There it is, Tkachev, lovely height. Turning to the low bar, her second release. Oh, very well done. A small reverse hex from the low bar to the high bar. Oh, she looks confident, moving well. Circle to handstand, giant to handstand. Only the dismount to come. And here it is. Oh, good routine. Well done, Kelly.
A fine performance, Peter, and I'm sure that she'll be very happy with that routine. She came into this competition with a 9.5.
And here we see that Tkachev somersault, beautifully done.
Kelly's very, very confident. She has this new release move here known as the Shaposhnikova, named after one of the top Russian gymnasts who was the first to perform it in the world.
In fact, Francis, that's one of the interests in this sport. Many of the gymnasts who invent or first demonstrate a movement have the movement named after them.
Yes, they do, and isn't that a good way to achieve immortality?
And here's one, the Komenech somersault by the famous Nadia Komenech.
So Kelly looks well pleased with that, and so she should be, because she's received 9.60 points. It takes Kelly to 19.10, and she's maintaining 4th position on the rings, but Zellweger goes to 19.40. And one of the Bulgarians, we've been looking forward to seeing them in Rhythmic. Of course, they dominated the World Championships last year. Branimira Ivanova, who has 9.70 points, currently in 3rd place. Tiny 13-year-old from Sofia.
Yes, and Ivanova's been sent out here obviously to gain experience in international competition. She's not a senior yet. She's still too young to compete at a senior international event, so we won't be seeing her in Seoul, but I'm sure we'll be seeing her in future World Championships and Olympic Games. Nice catch.
Francis, the Bulgarians seem to have a tradition in rhythmic sport of gymnastics. What has led to this dominance of the sport, perhaps?
I'm really not sure, Peter. It's been a very interesting tussle between the Bulgarians and the Soviet Union, but the Bulgarians have managed to be just that little more innovative and creative, and obviously gain the extra points to dominate the world. Very good use of the hoops. Nice jumps and catches and quite unusual moves. And a very dramatic dramatic finish and a fine routine from this 13-year-old Ivanova from Bulgaria.
2 years ago, might be 3 years ago now, the Bulgarian sent a performer to the Australia Games who went on to become a world champion in Rhythmic.
That's right. Maybe that one will be too.
And here's Monique Allen, who won a medal last night in the all-round competition. Monique equal third with Kelly Larter going into the uneven bar. So it's an important competition for her, Peter.
Yes, Monique, our premier female gymnast at present, our highest scoring international ever, straight into her Kachev release, a very popular movement amongst the girls today. In fact, a movement that originated on men's horizontal bar and has been adapted to the women's apparatus. Circling to handstand. Beautiful giant swings, extended body. Double somersault. Oh, a good routine. A small step, but a good routine. In replay here, we see the circle to handstand. And a giant to handstand. Notice the extended legs and very straight body. She's preparing for her dismount now. A double somersault. And just one small step on landing.
Monique needs 9.65 to go clear of Kelly Larter. We'll get that score in just a moment. Let's go from the... Welcome back to 10 Sports Action. The uneven bars, Yao Chen from the People's Republic of China.
Yao Chen is a very competent bars worker, and she carries on a fine tradition of the Chinese gymnasts who have had many world champions. Mounting from the outside of the high bar, straight into handstand, into a giant swings. And there's a full pirouette and giant, a very superior movement, straight into her Kachev or reverse hecht. These girls are very confident in their movements today. On the low bar, which they must touch. Circle and straight into a front somersault with half turn. An expected good performance from the young 15-year-old from Beijing.
Two earlier results, he has 19.30. So interestingly, that Ken Meredith's score of 9.8 is still the highest on the ring. So we go to the hoop. And Julia Bayacheva of Bulgaria. 9.70 and currently in second position.
Again, we'll see the wonderful expertise of the Bulgarian gymnast with this unusual apparatus, the hoop. You'll notice that the hoop's colour coordinated to match their leotard. That's a very important part of the aesthetic appeal.
She obviously enjoys her routine, Francis.
Yes, she seems to enjoy it, doesn't she? She's very happy, she's confident in what she's doing, and I think that makes a difference.
Taking the routine to the audience as well as the judges is all part of competitive gymnastics, and she obviously can sell a routine.
Yes, she's doing a very good job. The judges all sit in a line on one side, so there tends to be a front or a stage to the rhythmic floor area, and the gymnasts perform to this.
Oh, a beautiful turn, Francis.
Lovely turn, wasn't it? You can see the classical ballet training paying off in these top gymnasts from the Bulgarian nation. Very difficult illusion turn to catch the hoop, showing that it doesn't just have to circle around legs and hands, use all parts of the body. Double roll. A fine performance from 14-year-old Julia Bayacheva, Bulgaria.
And here's the leader on the uneven bars, Olga Strasheva of the Soviet Union, who has a comfortable 0.15 margin going into this final performance over Yao Chen. But Yao Chen has already given us a performance of 9.80, the current leader.
That is a comfortable lead, Bruce, but nevertheless she's still got to complete a routine with 10 elements successfully. And this is certainly some routine, very dynamic indeed. It all happens extremely quickly, so we need to watch for these releases. A most unusual mount, she does a back handspring over the low bar, and that's blind, very difficult to catch. Oh, beautiful combination. And there's her first release, a Ginga somersault, straight to the low bar. There's so much content in this exercise, you nearly miss it. Second release, Kachev. Plenty of strength. And a dismount, oh, a full twisting double somersault with a full twist in the second somersault. That's a world standard event. That routine could possibly win a medal at any world championship or Olympic Games. And here we see the Ginga somersault, a backward somersault with half turn to recatch the high bar. She immediately jumped over the low bar to have that compulsory touch of the low bar and straight back onto the high bar to continue her long swinging.
Very happy with that performance. Babe Shaver, by the way, in the Rhythmic scored 9.80, so she leads with 19.50. Esther Shaver, we're about to get her score of 9.875. 9.875, so that's the best performance so far today on the uneven bars, and we'll give her the gold medal. To Rhythmic, another Soviet competitor, leading the competition, Marina Nikolaeva.
Marina Nikolaeva is the oldest competitor in the Rhythmic competition at just 17 years of age, and she's a physical education student. And she works with the hoop absolutely beautifully. Very unusual movement there to catch.
The girls aren't allowed to perform any acrobatic movements that we see in artistic gymnastics. What are they allowed to perform?
No, they're not. If they go through the inverted position, and that's through the handstand position, then they're deducted. But they're allowed to perform similar movements like rolls and back flexions and things of that nature. And they gain points for the more difficult complexity of the back flexion. The deeper they bend, the higher the degree of difficulty. That particular move that was just performed by Nikolaeva would be a superior difficulty. There's a lovely demonstration of flexibility. This lass currently ranks 4th in the world.
It's easy to see why. She looks very at home with the hoop.
Great deal of experience, and it certainly shows. She's very sure of herself. From Marina Nikolaeva, 17 years of age, from the USSR.
And we'll check the results from the uneven bars, rings and hoop after this break. You're watching 10 Sports Action. Francis with scores of 9.9, 9.8 and 9.7.
Yes, they certainly were, and it's a good indication of the standard and the quality of the gymnasts that have been sent out to compete in this particular competition.
So to the beam, and Roberta Kashmaya of Italy, currently in 7th position, 9.20.
Very confident for a young lady too. The beam is the most demanding. Very interesting movement. A roll half turn up to shoulder stand, made popular by the Romanians in the last year. The beam is the most demanding of all the women's events, as the girls have to show both acrobatic, that is tumbling skills, and gymnastic skills, leaps, jumps, hops and turns, which are hard enough, a front somersault with a small step on landing. And those gymnastic movements are difficult enough on the floor, let alone on the beam. Now her acrobatic series, a requirement. Oh, a backhand swing with a half turn. She's working with plenty of assurance. And that's what this apparatus needs. Split leaps, the girls are required to show at least one leap or one large leap. And her next acrobatic series, backhand spring, layout, and she tried to regain, but there's a fall, a half a point deduction, and the girls have 10 seconds in which to remount. So that unfortunately will take her out of medal contention.
This must be very difficult for her, Peter, after having a fall, to regain composure and finish off on a strong note.
Well, let's see how and it's not a bad finish. A bit of a stumble, but a double back somersault Again, a very difficult dismount, but yes, their confidence quite often is shaken, Bruce. But again, that is part of being an international competitor. They have to be able to regain that confidence, remount, and carry on.
Beam looks very, very narrow. How wide is it, in fact?
It is only 10 centimetres or 4 inches, and as I heard someone say the other day, that's the conventional house brick. She's a disappointed young lady.
So is Roberta Kirschmeyers, showing her disappointment at that performance. We'll take a break and be back with... And welcome back on 10 Sports Action, your Olympic network. Don't forget the Olympic Games, Seoul, Korea, September 17 to October 2. And for the beam, and Carolyn Stewart from Australia. Carolyn has a score of 9.55, currently in 6th place.
Carolyn's been a member of 2 World Championship teams. She's 18 years of age and comes from Sydney. Good start. Round off, back handspring onto the beam. Nice and steady. There's the compulsory leap, although she's done a split change leap. A little more difficult. Preparing for her tumbling series. Backhands, oh, slight overbalance, but she stayed on, so she won't incur that 0.5 penalty. Compulsory pivot.
I was going to say, sorry, Francis, she must lose some marks for that.
Yes, she'll lose 0.2 to 0.3. But in terms of confidence, it's better for the gymnast to stay on the beam. She's just performed a planche move, which is a very difficult move, and that's most unusual, to circle around the beam.
Is she sure she's on beam, or is it bar?
Well, it's difficult to say at times. It's not quite as comfortable as circling the bar. Carolyn's working nicely along this 10 centimetre wide beam, preparing for her dismount. Concentration at the end of the beam. Round off, double twist, a fine dismount from 18-year-old Carolyn Stewart of Sydney, Australia. There's that split change leap, very well performed, nice and steady on landing. And then coming for a slight pause and concentration prior to the required acrobatic series. There's a back handspring, or a flick-flack as it's known in gymnastic circles, into a layout somersault, and you can see the overbalance, that she's fought very hard and stayed on the apparatus, and it's most important for her confidence.
Earlier, Roberta Kirschmeier, the little Italian, scored 9 on the beam to give her 18.20. Carolyn Stewart has 9.55. And Carolyn has scored 9.4 to give her a combined total of 18.95. The Rhythmic. And our second look at Arena is Giannini from Italy on clubs. Arena currently in 6th position with 9.35.
Yes, Bruce, and clubs is perhaps the most difficult apparatus in rhythmic gymnastics because there are 2 implements to work, and you'll see them do all sorts of circles, tapping, bouncing and throwing.
Lost the club there. Will there be a deduction?
Yes, she'll probably lose about 0.3. Unlike artistic, where they lose a 0.5 for a fall, in rhythmic it depends how many running steps they have to take to pick it up. So in that case, she'd lose 0.2 to 0.3.
Demonstrating there those extremes in flexibility, which are obvious, particularly in this rhythmic sport of gymnastics.
Yes, an extreme movement, of course, is classed as a superior difficulty. In rhythmic gymnastics, they call their difficulties mediums and superiors. Superiors obviously being the hardest.
Routines, the girls are required to have 4 superior movements and 4 medium difficulty elements.
Nice side leap, good demonstration of flexibility. Oh dear, what a pity. There, she'll probably lose 0.5 for that one. She'll be a little disappointed in that routine with 2 falls.
And that loss of the club happening at the end of the routine certainly caused the impression from a lower.
So let's leave the vault for a moment and go to the beam. Tricia Forston from Houston, who we saw earlier today on the uneven bars, currently in 5th position with 9.55.
And Tricia's mounting from the side of the beam. The gymnast can mount from whichever end or side of the beam they prefer, and she mounted with an oblique angle, demonstrated a nice press to handstand and a good flexibility hand arabesque. Oh dear, what a pity. That was a gain of flick-flack, and she's lost her balance and will lose 0.5 for that fall.
Actually, Francis, that movement would have what's called bonus value, in that it's very rarely seen in competitive gymnastics. So it's a shame she did lose her footing. And now a round off, she's in trouble.
She's in trouble again. You can see why with the previous performer, Carolyn Stewart, we said it's so important for their confidence that they stay on. Now she's down 1 whole mark.
In fact, she's not showing the confidence she exhibited the other day. Beam is one of her strong events. And here is that very unique movement. Oh, and she stumbled there too a little. A small wobble. Possibly about a 0.2 of a point deduction. But that movement across the beam, that aerial cartwheel across the beam, has what's called bonus value. As their routines are judged out of 9.7, they get additional marks for rare, that is, original movements. A double twist dismount, a poor routine for Tricia Forston of the USA.
2 other scores, Giamini of Italy 8.95, give her 18.25, and Shaw-Bing averaged 9.25 on the vault to give him 18.65. But here's Michele Imperatori from Italy, who we saw earlier on the hoop. She was very, very impressive there. Currently in 5th position with 9.45.
This lass obviously enjoys working with classical music. She lists as her hobbies listening to classical music, and you can see this coming through in her performance. Nice reverse pivot. The more experienced rhythmic gymnasts, when working with the clubs, will keep the one in the hand circling while the other is in the air. Good combination, the 2 leaps and the reverse scales. Interesting combination of rolls. Oh dear. A drop there that she'll incur a 0.2 penalty for.
The combining of these movements with the hand apparatus and very expressive dance movements is extremely difficult.
A nice performance, but she'll be a little disappointed because of that drop.
And welcome back, Julia Bayacheva, a silver medalist in the hoop, currently performing clubs in Rhythmic.
And she's doing very well indeed, obviously enjoying it. These Bulgarians have so much enthusiasm in their work. Lovely turn there. Fair superior difficulty. That's a most unusual catch. You'll certainly get points for originality there. You can see why the Bulgarians are the world champions.
Francis, their innovation with their movements is extremely exciting.
It is indeed. Beautiful pivot. Very confident performance. Good difficulty. Total assurance. A fine performance from Julia Bayacheva of Bulgaria.
From Bayacheva in Rhythmic to Artistic and Yao Chen from the People's Republic of China. Yeah, was a silver medalist in the uneven bars. Currently in 4th position in the beam with a score of 9.65. And the beam has created a lot of problems today. Tricia Forsum came in with 9.55 and could only manage 8.25.
Yes, she had 2 falls, and we'll just see how this young lady goes. She's mounting from the side. Another one of those circles around the beam. They're becoming more and more popular. Gymnasts are required to work along the full length of the beam and close to and far away. And obviously the circling movement fulfills the requirement of working very close to the beam. Now she's preparing for her acrobatic series. Slight pause for concentration. Flick-flack. Oh, and 2 layout saltos. What a fine performance, and very, very steady.
That's the hallmark of a true international performer.
A beautiful split leg. Nice aerial cartwheel, or a barani as it's sometimes known, into another flick-flack. Compulsory pivot. She's making it look so easy. Preparing for her dismount. Round off. Double back salto with 1 step on landing. A fine performance from the young 16-year-old from China.
She certainly means business, and at this rate could be in the medal.
Certainly she could. Here we see again that flick-flack and the layout salto. Excellent combination. Very good technique, great height.
That's hard enough on the ground, but here we see it perform with confidence on the balance beam.
One of the many stars from the Soviet Union here today. Shrasheva, the gold medalist on the uneven bars, in 3rd position on the beam. Equal second, actually, because she has 9.7. Let's see if she can match Yao Chen's 9.75.
Shrasheva won the all-round competition last night, commencing again with a round-off back handspring, and salto. A great start to the beam routine. I think we're really in for something exciting in this routine, Peter.
That would have to be one of the most difficult combinations, Francis. In a one-arm handstand, the girls must... Oh! From the handstand into a little Healy twirl, a movement taken from men's gymnastics on the floor exercise and parallel bars, but here shown on the beam. She is certainly an exciting performer. A definite candidate for the USSR Olympic team this year. We look forward to seeing her in Seoul. Hails from the Ukraine.
Very confident as she moves along, combining the acrobatic skills with little dance steps, preparing for her acrobatic series. Flick-flack, layout salto, flick-flack.
That's an unusual combination.
Yes, it is. I guess she's already shown us the flick-flack salto, so she's just putting it in a different combination. Absolute confidence.
Yes, there is no hesitation in her work, and that shows the strength and confidence in the movement. And a double back somersault, 1 small step on landing, but a very good performance by Shrasheva, the all-round individual winner from last night's competition.
Here you see that wonderful mount again. The round-off approach onto the beam and straight into the flick-flack, and then a layout salto. Great start to the beam routine. You don't see too many like that.
She's using this beam as if it was a floor exercise mat, and her dismount, round off. She has to complete 2 somersaults now before she lands steadfast on the ground, and 1 fairly large step on landing, so that will only be a minor deduction for her.
Excellent performance, and has scored 9.9. Shrasheva, 9.9. Easily the best we've seen so far on the beam today, giving her a total of 19.60. A couple of other results. Bowles on the vault scored 18.875, so Grant Carline goes above him, the Australian. Abeyacheva on the club, 9.8. So here's another Bulgarian, Ivanova. Ivanova has 9.7 going into this competition. Bayacheva's combined total is 19.4. So she'll be looking for something of 9.75 to stay in the medals.
Beautiful, creative expression. Good use of the club there, rolling it around to reach her other hand. Nice mill. Little circles with the hand, like she's performing now, are called mills. Good back flexion.
They really get involved with their music, and that's important, as the girls must show harmony between movement and music. But the Bulgarians seem to take it just a step further, and they get involved in presenting their music personally.
Yes, I think they spend a lot of time in theatrical training. And of course, in rhythmic gymnastics, the gymnasts are only allowed to have a single instrument to accompany them, whereas in artistic, of course, they may use orchestrated music. Beautiful routine for a very confident Bulgarian gymnast.
And we'll be back with Ivanova's score after this break. You're watching the Konica Bicentennial Gymnastics Cup on 10. And welcome back. A most exciting stage in the beam with Yao Yang Wang of China in equal second position going into this performance with 9.7 points. Strasheva put on a wonderful performance only a few minutes ago with 9.9. So can the Chinese girl come back with a performance of similar quality? Looking for a medal.
They certainly are capable, Bruce. The Chinese are a very strong gymnastic nation, having placed fourth in the team event at Rotterdam last year.
Wang's working very well here. She had a simple mount. She's now preparing for obviously a difficult series. That's the concentration. Flick-flack, lay-out salto, and very well performed. Very, very slight overbalance at the end, which will probably only incur a 0.05 deduction.
Those deductions, Francis, the judges are able to deduct at what level? 0.1 of a point, 0.05?
Yes, most of the deductions are down at this level are in 0.1s and 0.05s. A few years ago, 0.1 was the smallest deduction, but as the gymnasts are becoming closer and closer at the international level, they're now having to deduct by 0.05 of a point. A nice gain of movement there. Another combination, 2 flick-flacks in a row. And of course in women's gymnastics, when the gymnasts combine difficult skills, they increase in difficulty. Difficulties are rated A, B, C and D, D being the highest.
Preparing for dismount now. Round off. Double back somersault and 1 step on landing. That certainly was a confident performance.
It was very, very interesting to see how the judges judged that in comparison with Olga Strasheva, who received a 9.9. Here you see that pause for concentration, flick-flack, lay-out salto, a very difficult combination and that very slight overbalance. Will it score as well as Olga Strasheva?
And Kelly Larter will be coming up shortly on the beam, representing Australia. Kharkov just out of the rings and might score all that well on that particular performance. So we go to Medvedeva from the Soviet Union in clubs, currently in second position. A wonderful performance with 9.8.
And we're going to see a very unusual start. You don't too often see the gymnast start standing on their club. Double roll to catch.
Their footwear seems different to the artistic gymnast, Francis.
Yes, the rhythmic gymnasts wear what are called half shoes. It's a very soft shoe, a bit like a sock, that just gives the foot line a better point, and so adds to the aesthetic appeal. Some unusual moves here.
Very abstract.
Oh, nice demonstration of flexibility. Beautiful pirouette into that lovely held position. Very confident.
That sort of work is just breathtaking. The control, the amplitude, the beauty of the movement.
Very interesting competition between the Soviet Union and the Bulgarians, because they're both so good. Interesting little catches. Nice leap into the forward roll, spinning the club on the floor. The little taps. And finishing standing on the clubs. What an unusual routine. Great originality from Larissa Medvedeva of the USSR.
Kelly Larter on the beam. Kelly currently in first position. She'll need a very good performance here.
Yes, the pressure's on Kelly, but she's worthy of the task here. A good routine could assure a medal.
Kelly, of course, won a silver medal at the Commonwealth Gymnastics Championships on beam. Was the first Australian to ever win a medal that high. She's a fine performer. She's known in Australia as the Queen of the high beam.
She's a very elegant girl, Francis.
Yes, she is. She's a little taller than the average gymnast. She looks beautiful. She performs very well. She has good flexibility. She is, of course, the current national champion and hails from Tasmania. She trains at the Institute of Sport in Canberra, as do all the Australian competitors today.
And what's more, she just hit her most difficult acrobatic series, and that certainly will take a load off her mind.
She's working well. Just won a silver medal on bars. I wonder if she can keep going to win the gold on beam. Good combinations here, very, very steady. I'm sure her mother and her sisters who come from Tasmania are sitting in the audience, are crossing their fingers, hoping that Kelly will achieve the gold medal. And a nice, beautiful dismount, double twist, very strong landing, a fine performance from 18-year-old Kelly Larter of Launceston, Tasmania.
Peter, Kelly needs a score of 9.875 to take the gold medal.
That's a possibility, Bruce. It was a beautiful routine indeed, confident. And there's that difficult acrobatic series, a back walkover, back handspring, and the famous Corbett salto. But I did sense that Kelly was a little hesitant with some things, so perhaps it may take her out of the goal, but a very good dismount to finish.
Kelly looking for a score of 9.85 to tie Strasheva. Currently, the two Chinese girls are on 19.4. Kelly has scored 9.75. That gives her 19.50 and a silver medal to go with her bronze medal in the uneven bars. And she now must be a very good chance to be going to Seoul the way she's performing here today.
Well,
Kharkov scored just 9 on that vault where he almost fell on landing. Received 18.85, so Shaposkin looks like winning the gold in vault. And this is the overwhelming favourite in club. Nikolaeva for the Soviet Union, who's already won gold in the hoop, had a wonderful performance of 9.9 going into this competition, needs 9.725 to add to her gold medal in the hoop.
And of course, Nikolaeva won the all-round competition last night, so she's doing very well. A very elegant young lady. Nice drop to the floor and catch. Beautiful ring leap. That's a most unusual move. It's almost like a neck spring.
Nearly acrobatic, Francis.
Nearly acrobatic, but because it doesn't go into that vertical position or the handstand position, it's acceptable. And I'm sure they'll have quite a debate about it in Seoul when she's in the USSR Olympic team. That's the most unusual move, the kick from the foot. combinations. Certainly the best rhythmic gymnastics we have ever seen in Australia. And a great performance from Marina Nikolaeva. Is it good enough to win her the gold medal once again?
And that routine just kept on building right to the climax at the end.
Superb performance from Nikolaeva. Shaposkin scored 9.4 in the vault to give him 19.35. Carl Lyons almost in a position for a medal. We'll find out how.
I'm now talking with Mary Ellen Holdreth, who is the rhythmic gymnastics coach from the United States of America. And it'd probably be fair to say that rhythmic gymnastics in the United States, Mary Ellen, is probably still in a developmental stage, as it is in our country.
Yes, that's very true. We're working very hard to bring ourselves up to the standards that we're seeing at this meet. Very high standards here. We're very pleased to be working with the Bulgarians and the Russians and the Italians, and people from all over the world. It's very exciting.
Is there a chance to share ideas with the Bulgarians, the Russians and so on, or is it one of those sports where you keep all your ideas to yourself?
At a competition such as this, there's no time actually, but the top people, the Bulgarians currently are the world champions, and they've been very helpful, I think, to most countries, most developing countries. For example, Efrosina Angelova, who is the coach here with the Bulgarian team, was in the States last year in Chicago, and we attended a clinic. I took some of my girls from Miami, Florida, up to work with her, and that was very exciting.
I guess it must be stimulating for you, just watching these girls, the Bulgarians and the Russians, and all their fancy steps and moves and so on. But do you try and come up with your original ideas as well for your girls, or do they do it themselves? How does that work?
It depends on the girls and how experienced they are. The girl that we have here, Jennifer Lovell, is very creative. So it's usually a combination of working together, Jennifer and I, and you see things we don't like to copy exactly, but you get spin-offs. You know, when you see someone do something, you say, oh, maybe I could do something a little bit different.
Rhythmic gymnastics, I think some people would say, is not necessarily a sport. It's one of those activities that fits in like synchronized swimming. I think people say, well, rhythmic gymnastics isn't really a sport. How would you answer people who might criticize it that way?
Well, I say bluey. I think it's the perfect sport, especially for women. I think it develops a very beautiful feminine body, and a girl has to be very strong, but she doesn't necessarily have to have bulky muscles to be strong. I think the hand-eye coordination is excellent training for girls. They have to do leaps and turns, and they have a terrific aerobic conditioning. I think it's a perfect sport for women.
Actually, I think probably people watching this competition today would notice that they're very sinewy and long and slender, the rhythmic gymnasts, as opposed to the muscly ones who perform the other gymnastics. So I guess it is a very good sport for them.
Right. I think the muscles are just developed in a different way.
Well, good luck to the United States.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mary Ellen, thank you very much for talking to us. Mary Ellen Holdreth, who is the rhythmic gymnastics coach from the United States of America.
And forward.
Underneath, it has a series of springs. It's called a sprung floor, and there are a whole series of springs all the way around, about a foot apart, and gives the gymnast that little bit of extra lift they need for the very difficult rotational skills they perform that we predominantly call saltos.
So Roberta Kirschmeyer, 7th place with 9.3 points going into the competition. Women are using music. Men on the floor, of course, don't.
That's correct. The women, of course, may use orchestrated music. This little girl is the smallest girl in the competition. She's preparing for her first tumbling series.
And opening with a double back stump. Oh, she's fallen. And not only will she suffer a reduction there on the floor, she may have actually put a hand or body part outside of the 12-metre area designated by the white line there. Picked up well, though. The floor exercise for the women requires that they use, again, acrobatic or tumbling movements combined in harmony with gymnastic movements, leaps, jumps, turns, etc. The second tumbling part, very difficult. Handspring, fly spring, 1.5 twisting front somersault, a nice combination. She's chosen a very fast tempo music, and that suits her well.
That's an important choice of music there, because the gymnast must fit it to their morphology. And of course, she's a tiny girl, very fast mover, and this is suiting her ideally. Interesting little moves. You'll notice there are a few moves from rhythmic gymnastics creeping into the women's floor now. Those little moves there, they're the pre-acrobatic skills from the rhythmic area. course, many years ago, the women used to compete both artistic and rhythmic together. But since 1984, when rhythmic first came into the Olympic Games, there's been a change. Oh, dear.
The second fall for the young lady, she had a fall on her opening tumbling pass and her final tumbling pass. A bit disappointing for her.
But some wonderful experience in the Bicentennial Gymnastics Cup for Roberta Kirschmeier.
And here we see her second tumbling pass. Oh, and that's that fall, which will cost her dearly.
Yes, unfortunately, she's lost 1.2 just in those two falls.
Blaise Rizzo scored 9.65 on the parallel bars, giving 19.05. And here's Irene Giamini of Italy on the ribbon, or with the ribbon, I should say, correctly, in rhythmic gymnastics.
The ribbon is perhaps the most beautiful of the rhythmic apparatus. It's 6 metres long, and the gymnast must keep it moving at all times. The movements are called circles, spirals. Of course, they must use both hands, the same as the other apparatus, and they are permitted to throw it. You'll see some most interesting throws. Nice leap. There's the spiral movement. There's one of the throws. Unfortunately, she's not doing very much underneath while she's waiting for it. Oh dear. Lift there, she'll lose 0.1 to 0.2 for that. She's only young, she's only just turned 14 and is the junior Italian champion. So this competition for her is to gain international experience. Nice illusion turn. Good spirals and large circles, little serpents. Nice display of flexibility. Interesting throws. You'll be pleased that she caught the return that time. Irene Giamini, the Italian junior champion.
From one Australian to another, Leanne Rycroft on floor. Leanne in 5th position with 9.45.
Leanne was the 1986 national champion and in last night's competition was placed 2nd within the Australian team. She's a fine performer. She trains at the Institute of Sport and comes from Adelaide. Watch the opening run. Leanne will attempt a triple twisting salto. And almost all the way around. I think the judges will pay that one. Leanne has a good choice of music, works very well to it. It's her 2nd tumbling series. And a double back cut salto. The female gymnasts are required to have 3 tumbling passes or series. The somersaults in each of the series must be different. Some interesting combinations there, a little bit of originality, nice Valdez into the pirouette on her hand. Leanne is one of the older competitors here today. She's 19 years of age. Last tumbling series, double twist. Some reverse butterflies. Not as well performed as usual, but a good performance from Leanne Rycroft of Adelaide, South Australia. There you see that triple salto. It was around enough for the judges to pay it.
Leanne
Here's
in
the 2nd row.
Sorry, Francis, I was saying Leanne in 5th position, but only 0.5 behind the bronze medal position. So good score here, and Leanne would have a chance of getting into the medals.
Yes, I think she would, Bruce. This was a slightly better performance than last night.
And we'll find out Leanne's score after this break. We'll be back with more from Chapotkin, the junior silver medalist in the European Championships in '86, to the floor, and Dana Dobransky from the United States, currently in 4th position.
Yes, and Dana hails from Michigan and is a beam and floor specialist within the United States. She's working well. This is a very dramatic floor routine, good choice of music for her, and obviously a well-choreographed routine. The US for a long time have been leaders in floor choreography.
A suitable choice of music and choreography for the 16-year-old. Coached by Steve Whitelock of Michigan, and in fact her coach Steve is here with her. Double twist, very solid.
Good routine, Peter, from Dana Dobransky of USA. 9.5. It'll be interesting to see what she scores for this one.
Leanne Rycroft scored 9.5 a little earlier to give her 18.95, and Chapotkin 9.15 as we go to Imperatori in ribbon, currently in 5th position.
This is the lad that's impressed us so far with her classical approach to the rhythmic apparatus. Senior Italian champion. Remember, this ribbon is 6 meters long and it's extremely difficult to keep it moving at all times. That's one of the requirements of the apparatus. Beautiful circles and spirals, nice pirouettes. The gymnast must use the entire floor area. There's the throw, double roll, and a fine catch.
In this shot, we get a better perspective of the space the ribbon takes up, and that shows us how difficult it would be to keep this ribbon in motion.
It is indeed, and I'm sure the work that the community is seeing will inspire some of our young rhythmic gymnasts who often struggle with this very long piece of apparatus. Beautiful formations. The circles and the spirals are very even, well-shaped. An unusual throw. Unfortunately, she stood waiting for the ribbon to come down. But a good routine from the senior Italian champion, Michela Imperati.
In the medals, and I wonder if this girl will be from also the People's Republic of China. Yao Chen, bronze medalist in the beams today, currently 3rd on the floor, carries 9.5 into this routine.
And of course, Yao Chen was placed 2nd last night in the all-round individual title. After her great beam performance, I'm sure this will be an exciting one indeed, preparing for her first tumbling series. A nice double pipe back somersault, very well performed.
Those double somersaults were once only the realm of male gymnasts. Since the mid-70s to late 70s, we've now seen their female counterparts performing them, and even with twists. In fact, it's accepted today that the girls must have double somersaults with twists in one of the somersaults to rank in medal contention. Second tumbling pass, whip back through to double twist, a slight stumble there. This is a good choice of music for this lady. It has an oriental flavour to it.
Yes, it's a very good choice for her. One of the things the Chinese have been lacking in over these few years have been in the area of choreography, but obviously they've now caught up. Their tumbling skills have always been excellent, and they are now very, very creative. And here we have her preparing for her 3rd and final tumbling pass. Now, double back salto. That will earn her a bonus point for finishing with a double back salto. Fine routine from Yao Chen of China.
And coming up shortly, Monique Allen, who's in 2nd position on the floor. Monique will be due his score shortly, but he got 9.825, so a great performance. Now Monique Allen in the silver medal position, leading a score of 9.45 to maintain that.
16-year-old Monique Allen, who also comes from Sydney, New South Wales. Preparing for her first tumbling row. nice whip back into a double back salto. Well performed and a little step out. That movement was named after the Australian gymnast Marina Sulicic. This change leap to scale. The second tumbling row, front salto, and a single twist.
The gymnasts are choosing to tumble along the diagonals of the floor, but that's not necessary. They may tumble on any other part of the floor. But of course, the diagonal gives them the most room to perform their complicated acrobatic skills.
Nick's working very well, showing grace and poise, good control in his handstand pirouette. Final tumbling pass.
Double somersault, and very well controlled at the end of the routine, increasing the Dibley's routine. Oh, a good performance by Monique. That could lift her into the medals here on the women's floor exercise. Monique's confidence has increased greatly in the last 12 months, and that routine merely demonstrates that. And here in replay, front somersault, step out, round off, back handspring, and the full twist, her middle tumbling or acrobatic pass.
And coming into the final tumbling pass, the round-off six-flat preparation for the double back salto. Unfortunately, a little stumble backwards.
So some discussion on the score there for Monique Allen. Monique needing 9.45 for a silver. And we go to the ribbon, and the Soviet Union, Medvedeva, who won the silver medal in clubs, is in 4th position, has 9.6. And the top 4 girls have really been quite outstanding in rhythmic today.
Haven't they indeed? You can see the excellent colour coordination of the ribbon and the leotard that Medvedeva has on. Interesting start to her routine. Good large circles.
It's a novel choice of music, Francis.
Yes, I think she likes to do things that are a little unusual. Nice throw. This is a new trend with the ribbon, is to throw, bounce it from the floor with the stick, and then regrasp. Nice ground jetés. The Soviets tend to be following the trend of the Bulgarians and being very original. A nice ring leap. Excellent display of flexibility. Some unusual original skills. Good back flexion up. Notice that the ribbon keeps moving from one hand to the other. This is the mark of a champion.
This performance is not only abstract, it's very entertaining.
Isn't it indeed? A most original, unique routine.
That's a crowd pleaser, and I'm sure the judges will be equally pleased.
Score gone from the gold medal position to 3rd. Bronze medal. He'll be disappointed with that. Here's Olga Strasheva of the Soviet Union, who's already won 2 gold medals today and has the opportunity to become the only athlete to win 3 gold medals today.
Now, this floor will have something different. Watch this very tumbling pass. The Russians are noticed for the highest level of performance in all their skills, with their acrobatic skills. And precise sprint. Double front somersault, forward roll, and she keeps on tumbling. And that's the latest trend. And immediately into another 1 3/4 somersault. That's of the highest difficulty. In fact, it's so complex, it's really hard to comprehend. Not only are the Russian gymnasts well versed in their acrobatic skills, their dance training is excellent. The second tumbling pass now, whip back through the double back, no problems at all, but there's a stumble, certainly a 0.2 or 3 deduction. This young lady hasn't held anything back today. She's demonstrated her full complement of movements in her floor routine, in fact on every apparatus. And as you can see, she's a very strong lady. Using suitable music. The last tumbling pass now. Interesting double back somersault and well landed. Great routine. That caliber of routine is very rarely seen in this country, and it's a pleasure to see here at this bicentennial gymnastics competition.
Well, Strasheva's been outstanding today with 9.875 on the uneven bars, 9.9 on the beam, and she will score very well again on the floor.
And here again we see this combination of the two tumbling series. This was first originated by one of the Soviet team members in the World Championships, a lady known as the Little Cricket. The two combinations backwards and forwards were first done by Ameliachek of the Soviet Union. And there's the final tumbling pass. Great performance by this young lady who's 15 years of age and will certainly be in the Soviet team in Seoul.
And a big hit here today in Sydney. Hope you're enjoying it all around Australia on 10 Sports Action. Parallel bars, floor completed, ribbons still going on. High bar to come, more after 12. Let's join her once again.
Now we have Mary Lee Palmer, who's with us. She's the Canadian women's gymnastics coach. And Mary Lee, you've been doing this for 20 years. Now, you must love this sport.
Yeah, I sure do, yes.
You've seen a lot of people come and go. The styles have changed over the years. What do you see as as gymnastics in the 80s? What do you see compared to when you started?
Oh, an awful lot more difficulty. It seems to get, each time you go out to a championship like this, you see more and more kids doing more and more aerial stunts and all kinds of difficulties.
You've been to Australia twice now. This is your second trip. You were here in the early 80s, I believe. 82, was it?
Yeah, Commonwealth Championship.
And do you find that the Australian gymnastics standard has improved over that time?
Oh, definitely. The girls look really good at this competition.
It's not a big sport in this country, obviously, and I guess we're in a developmental stage here, but you can see Australians doing good things, maybe?
Yes, very nice things. Very contemporary difficulty and getting better and better on performing it. Good.
Now, one thing that I have noticed as well, the USA, the Canadian, the Australian girls are much bigger, it seems, than, say, the Russians and the Bulgarians, who are quite compact. Now, how does that make gymnastics for them?
Well, gymnastics is much easier if you're small and powerful. And but they are much smaller. I was in the Red Army gym last spring, and no one was over 4'8". We had a girl there 5 feet, and she looked like a giant. And she was one of our little ones in Canada. And it's just, I just think that unless we can get smaller girls, it's going to be very, very difficult to compete with them.
I guess we're seeing one of the champions of the future, Olga Strasheva from the USSR. Certainly an Olympic champion in the making, maybe?
Yes, she's beautiful. She was supposed to be on their world team last time, but she was injured. So maybe she would have been world champion. Who knows?
Well, a woman of experience, that's for sure. Mary Lee Palmer from Canada. She's the women's gymnastics coach for that country. Thanks very much, Mary Lee.
Thank you.
Thank you to Anne Ford and Mary Lee. So, huge wrap there for Olga Strasheva.